Okay, I got my headphones here because I was listening to the music intro.
I liked it. It was
How
nice.
are you? Got bright new big letters at the beginning of the show now. Our new logo up there. There it is. Look at that.
Yes,
Boy,
there it
now
is.
that,
There
that
we
tells
are.
you what it is, doesn't it? That look at that.
So that's us.
and she is still Vaughn.
He's Stewart.
How are you?
I really don't know what I'm doing. All right. I'm good. How are you? I'm well.
Good. Good. Did you have a good week?
We had a good week. Gosh, let's see. Yeah,
Are the
good week.
girls down at Waco now?
Emily is already down there. Elizabeth goes this week. We're moving her in this week. Emily didn't have to move again, so she's still in this, her house that she was in last year. She's a senior, so that's nice. We didn't have to move her. And then Elizabeth will move this week into a dorm, and we will see how that goes.
So
we're prepared to move her in. We're prepared to move her in, and we're prepared to move her out if need be. So I don't know. I take each day. I was telling a friend of mine on the phone just a minute ago before the show that the way I'm constructing my schedule and the way I'm constructing my days is I wake up and I learn if there are any new developments or guidelines, restrictions to all that's going on, and then I act accordingly each day. It's hard to plan right now because of all the logistics surrounding this pandemic, but so I've decided I'm going to go act accordingly day by day. So we have been told we're moving in, we're starting school, albeit, school online and hybrid. And you and I talked about that, how they've structured the academic schedule. But we're prepared to move her in, and because that's what we're all doing right now until we can do. And then we will see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. So we're excited, and she's excited, and we've got everything ready in the laundry room to make a nice, comfy, pretty little dorm room, and we're hoping for the best. That's all we can do, right?
You got to have your options.
And you got to be flexible. And I've always said that even before everything, and even more so now. So we are prepared to move in. And if we need to switch gears along the way, which I'm hoping not, that will not be the case. But if so, we will be flexible, and we'll then move her out. Move her out. I don't know. We'll see.
And I mean, I'm sure Phil's going nuts too from the news this week that college football may be postponed for the year. The Big Ten, the Big 12, Pac-12, a lot of the other conferences, they aren't going to play. They're worried. They're worried about it. And have they made a decision down at Baylor yet? Is the conference gonna play their games?
Right now, we're prepared to play. That's what we were told today. That could change tomorrow.
That's today, right? Yeah,
and that's today. That's why we all have to just really kind of live all this day, literally day by day. I'm prepared to play right now. Don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know if you were to talk to Phil. I think he would probably just vote to push football to spring and just maybe hope that it would be a better situation at that time. But even who knows then if it would be. So I can't really speak to all that. If they get started playing at Baylor, I know that there are going to be some restrictions and new guidelines, capacity at the stadium. If they're even going to allow fans at all at the stadium. So these kids might just have a bunch of watching parties.
The players, when they get out on the field, they're focused on the game. But if while nobody really wants to see football postponed this fall, I think from the fans' experience point of view, if it went to the spring and we get beyond this and there's the ability for people to be in the stadium for the game, I think that will help the players. It will certainly help the fan base. So,
I've been watching some sports on TV, baseball, hockey, whatnot, but the few sports that are on right now, and I see that there's nobody in the stands, and I understand why, of course, but I guess I don't understand why we can't have some in the state. I mean, socially spaced out. I mean, we certainly have restaurants and some, and I know bars aren't supposed to be open, but some bars are open. Those bars that serve a percentage of food, whatever. So you do have people out and about amongst each other, at least in Texas you do. I know California, East Coast, West Coast, a little different. But I guess I wonder why we can't have a certain capacity that would allow safe social distancing in the stands. I don't know why we can't do it that way. That's one thing I heard about Baylor, is that they would have the stadium filled only to a certain capacity. Who those fans would be, I don't know. Would they be the big donors? Would they be parents of players or families of players? Would they be seniors? My daughter's a senior at Baylor, so of course she's voting seniors should get to go, if anybody, would it be freshmen because they're new and they should get to experience it? So everybody thinks that they should be the ones to get to be, I guess, in the stands if there is a certain capacity and they have to hand select whoever gets to go. Everybody thinks that they're, so maybe that just presents more logistical issues in having to decide, who would make up the capacity in these stadiums. So maybe they just said, okay, forget it, nobody in the stadium. And like I just said, if we're talking college sports, the kids will just have to have, safe watching parties from outside the stadium.
Right.
So,
and the restaurants and the bars that have outdoor facilities with widescreen TVs, if they do play and they can broadcast those on a widescreen TV with precautions and social distancing at some of the restaurants and bars, that's a way to get some of the fans involved in the process too.
Yeah, so exactly. So we'll have to see how that goes. It's hard to say at this point. I know even when you watch the news, there have been players even coming out and speaking, and some are comfortable with, canceling whatever, and others are not and think that they should go out and play. So I think, Stuart, really, if you were to ask 10 different people, whatever the question might be, should we go out? Should we go in? Should we wear masks? Should we not? Should we have sports? Should we postpone? Should we cancel? I think whatever the question regarding this pandemic, if you were to ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different responses. And I think a lot of the responses are going to be based on personality types. I just think there are people who are more nervous than others and people who are seeing this just differently. So I don't know that, Eddie, we're ever going to agree on all these issues that we're talking about right now. Even, for example, school just started here in Frisco. Yesterday was the first day of school in Frisco, and it started virtually. And so all students from kindergarten up to 12th grade started virtually, with the option then of going into the classroom starting September 3rd. September 3rd. I held up to it.
Yes.
September 3rd.
Somebody needs to go back to school.
September 3rd. So, you had people who agreed with that, didn't agree with that, this and that. Well, my next door neighbor, I've referred to her a lot when we talk about just different things. She's got the little ones over there, a kindergartner and then a preschooler. And she was a nervous wreck prior to the first day of school because, what you need to consider are all aspects of a parent having to not necessarily educate from home, but manage the entire scenario from home, which means be there, especially if you've got a kindergartner and a preschool, because they can't be home alone. Right. So be there, first of all, if you physically can, and also be able to reinforce what is being taught, because the way they're doing this virtually is the teacher comes on the screen with all the students, teaches whatever the skill is that they're learning that day, and then they turn off the computer and the children are then to do their work independently, sign back on, and discuss. Well, you've got to have somebody there to check for walk this child through that new skill that have been taught, check for comprehension, get back on the computer. There's so much. Plus, consider the example next door where she has a preschooler who also needs tending to. She's in the middle of potty training. And I could go on and describe the scenario. It turned out that yesterday went very well for her, I'm happy to say. But if you think about this online learning, virtual learning, homeschooling, basically, she's dealing with maybe, okay, the color blue. We're talking kindergarten. Think about those parents that are having to perhaps help teach, I don't know, calculus, algebra. I mean, I think my math goes maybe as far as 5th grade. I mean, I'm just so, and look at the teachers. They've got challenge. They're trying to get to know these students, on a computer screen.
Yeah, that's kind of the scenario that we're in. First of all, I just had a pop-up that Ty Foley was tuning in and watching us. So welcome to the show, Ty. Glad to have you with us. But my 10-year-old grandson, he's in Prosper, which is the next town just north of Frisco. They are in this hybrid thing, whereas Liam is at home. Is at home on the computer that was provided by the school. But I think he said 2/3 of the students were in the classroom yesterday and the day before, and 2/3 of them were at home. Now, whether that changes next week and a different group goes back to the school, I mean, the logistics of trying to teach these students is getting to be really interesting, because you hope that it doesn't have an adverse effect on the student's ability to learn. But Liam is structured. He has to be in front of that computer at certain times for certain classes, and then somebody's got to be there to oversee what's going on too. And either my son or my daughter-in-law, or in this case, Lauren, went over there to be with him today. So it's putting a little extra pressure on the family unit too, in order to understand what's going on. And whatever it is this week, it could change next week.
Right.
Better or worse. We just don't know. We got to wait and see.
Yeah. They're going to have to make the best of it. I've had long conversations with my neighbor about it, and it's not ideal, to say the least. It's going to be very challenging. I hope that these kids don't lose, especially the older kids. Kindergarten, when we speak of kindergarten, maybe even first, second, you're still trying to really instill a love of learning, keep a positive, safe learning environment, those types. But I'm hoping that the older kiddos, say middle school, high school, that they're not losing, that this isn't going to go on long enough to where they're going to lose a lot of academic traction.
Right.
You have to, for example, master certain skills in, let's just say math class, a certain math class, prior to moving into the next math class. And so that could be, if they barely get by this year, like for however long this goes on, and we're not really checking for comprehension, and we're not checking to see if they are, ready to move on. You might see down the road some remnants of this type of learning. I would venture to say, I'm not going to venture to say, I am going to say that obviously still the best way of learning, educating, teaching, and learning is face-to-face in the classroom. I think that just absolutely, maybe some can do it effectively online, and that's great. But I would say majority of kids probably would benefit more from being in the classroom. So I hope that these kids can get back into, that's my hope. I hope these kids can get back into the classroom just sooner rather than later, as soon as they can, as soon as it's safe enough to re-enter the door.
I think it's also, important to say how much we appreciate what the teachers and the administrations are going through to try and make this the best bridge of education that they can for the students. and everything, because
Yeah.
they are not only are trying to do what they are there to do, but they're also trying to determine if it's going to be the same thing tomorrow and next week, and if there's adjustments to be made. So, a lot of congratulations and heartfelt thanks to our educators and all for being involved in this whole process.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Absolutely. And parents hang in there.
yep, that's it.
Because this is proving that it's going to be something that's going to take a village.
Yeah.
We're all going to need it. I mean, I even offered to take the preschooler for some time yesterday, just to give, my neighbor time to work independently with her, one-on-one with her son. So it's going to take a village. So everybody needs to hang in there and just try to make the best of it, I guess.
And as we say in the media, stay tuned. What's going on.
Stay tuned. To what?
Yeah, right. Oh, we talk each week about what we want to talk about, and a lot of it has evolved around the pandemic and schools opening, schools closing, and wearing masks and not wearing masks and all. And finally, I said to Vaughn, you know what? I just want to throw back to something that we did a while back, and we've done from time to time, and that was to play a little bit of Would You Rather. And it's a fun game. It gets the thought process going, and it also gets us away from current events.
Yeah.
We started talking a little bit earlier about sports, and also the first Would You Rather I would throw out is, would you rather be the best player on a team that always loses, or be the worst player on a team that always wins?
You asking me?
Yeah. Hey, I'm asking you. Yo, this is a question for you.
I'd rather I don't need to be the best player on the team, so I'd like to be on the winning team. Look, my son was on that team that lost every game, and he was a good player. This was back in when he was in elementary school, and it was a football team through FFL here, Frisco Football League. And, it's all kind of like these kids are just going to all these little peewee teams or whatever. I'm going to tell you, Stuart, it was exhausting. I mean, to lose every game is just, and I know people say, oh, it's not, but it is a little bit. I mean, and I don't mind losing every now and then, but to lose. So your question was to lose every game. I'm going to say no, because that is exhausting. Exhausting. To lose every now and then.
To be the best player on a team that always loses, or be the worst player on a team that always wins.
Yeah, but even if you're the best player on that team that always loses, it's still mentally trying and exhausting, and you're getting hit in the gut every, it's no. So I would have to say I would want to be on, even if I'm the worst player, if I'm out there giving it my best, giving it all my best, and I'm doing whatever I can to help our team to victory. I would rather that. What about you? I mean, you seem like
it's interesting because I started thinking about it too, and I guess if I had to choose, I would probably say I would rather be the worst player on a team that always wins, because even though it might mean going the entire season sitting on the bench, you're still part of a winning team, and you get wrapped up in all of that hoopla of winning. If you're the best player on a losing team, the best you can hope for is that there's a scout out there that says, even though this is a terrible team and they always lose, there's a couple of stars out there that know how to play the game, and they may be able to get those scholarships to go on and play at the next level. So it's kind of a tricky way of thinking it, but if it means being a worse player and sitting on the bench and still getting a championship trophy, yeah, I guess I would probably lean that way.
Yeah, and that's me. And again, it's not all about like the fact that I want to win every game. It's not that at all. But I don't mind being, again, when you say the worst player, we could come up with so many different scenarios. It didn't occur to me that being the worst player would mean that I would never get to step foot on the field.
Right.
I would think that I would be given an opportunity to get out there and give it my best shot. And that would help my kind of psyche a little bit. If I were just sitting on the bench, that would make me then feel like I'm just really not even needed or a part of it. Perhaps then if I were just sitting on the bench, I would come up with some way to just be the team motivator. I don't know. I would do something to give myself a sense of purpose. If I'm in that, on that winning team and not contributing much in terms of my athletic abilities, I would come up with maybe some way to be able to contribute to the team and give myself a sense of purpose. There you go. So yes, I'm sticking to my answer. Winning team, worst player. And we're on the same page.
How about, would you rather be incredibly wealthy but never fall in love or get married, or have a happy marriage but be poor?
And I don't want to be too poor. Like, how poor are we talking? Can I put food on my table?
Well, you could be truthful for the next 20 some minutes, because once the show's over, it's in the can. But
what?
It's to be incredibly wealthy but never fall in love or get married, or have a happy marriage but be poor.
Have a happy marriage but be poor.
You rather have a happy marriage?
You said you're breaking up on my screen. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I want to have love and happiness for just totally, because you're saying the other way is you're rich without any love in your life. Oh no, that would be miserable. That would be miserable. Yeah. Oh gosh, that would be awful. That would be awful. Oh no. I would much rather. But again, when you say poor, I just would like to say I want to be able to feed myself. I don't know how poor you're.
You'd like a definition of how poor is poor.
Because So I'm sticking with my answer, but in my mind, I'm still able to, feed myself, clothe myself. So that's my answer. What about you?
I would probably go the same way, but we as adults might answer that way. Young people might go a different route. Young people who have not been married yet, or might say, "Oh, show me the money."
Yeah, well, we don't ask. That's why we don't ask young people these types of questions.
That's
Their
right.
brains aren't fully developed yet till they're 30? I don't know.
When you ask older people, then it's hypothetical answers, of course.
Yeah.
But it's funny, because when I was going through this and coming up with some of these lists, one, I just asked about being wealthy, or being poor. I came up with, I think, is probably one of the worst would you rather questions ever. And the question was, would you rather get rich through hard work or through winning the lottery?
The right thing. Right answer is hard work, through hard work, but it certainly wouldn't suck to win the lottery. So I didn't answer the question, did I?
Like I say, I would love to poll, 100 people and ask, would you rather get rich through hard work or through winning the lottery? And I will tell you that if less than 98 out of 100,
we need to take a poll then.
Yeah, we probably should take the
poll.
But
let me just say this. I just turned on my phone. Oh, we are. So I just went on to look at my Facebook, and I'm seeing here Ty is like totally contributing. First of all, going back, he'd rather play than sit on the bench. And so then he also said no brainer, happy marriage and poor. So we agreed with him on that. And now he just looks like this was a hands down answer because it's just one word: lottery with 3 exclamation points.
Lottery.
And
You
now
know, I mean,
I have to say, I have some friends that have tuned in. I'm just seeing Joni, my neighbor, is watching. Karen, a friend of mine back in the USA Today days. Hello, Karen. Hello, Joni. And Jessa, my neighbor. Marianne, friend of mine from high school. Sharon, friend of my sister's from high school.
Well-
Anyway, and of course, you're Lauren. So anybody chime in on any of these. We're going to start taking polls on these answers because Stuart and I are not the only voice in this on these questions. We don't want to be the only voice. Okay, so he said lottery. I'm going to say lottery. Stuart,
I'm all for lottery. I mean, I figure if I win a big lottery and everything, I can decide if I want to work hard the rest of my life or I just want to sit back and enjoy.
And I agree with you. I was
work hard or hardly work.
Gonna win the lottery and then go, and then you could win the lottery and then go off and work hard in some great nonprofit, do some good, work hard volunteering and make a difference in some nonprofit organization or something like that. So just because you win the lottery doesn't mean you can't work hard in other aspects of your life. So I'm lottery.
All right. So the next one I got is, would you rather have a cook?
Okay. I got to fly.
Would you rather have a cook
sitting outside
or a maid? Did you hear me?
Maid. And I believe we should call. Aren't they like housekeepers or like I don't know, executive sponge handlers or something? I don't know. But
well, a cook might say, no, I want to be called an executive chef, not a cook.
Yeah, that's fine by me. I don't care what people want to call it.
All right. So would you rather have an executive chef or a domestic housekeeper?
I want a domestic housekeeper.
Okay.
Hands down, because then I would have more time to just get in my kitchen and cook and bake. So that would be my answer for sure. You?
And me, I would probably go with the executive chef because Lauren's nickname is Mrs. Dirt Devil. And she's had that handle ever since.
Yeah, I know, but then she wouldn't have to do it.
Huh? But she wouldn't know what to do with herself if she didn't have a vacuum cleaner. That's it's part of her day. Every day she cleans something or vacuums. So, she might say to have a housekeeper, but I don't know if she could do that.
Right.
So, all right, let me find another one.
Yeah, give me another one.
If you think of someone, you let me know. All right. A lot of people say to you, all right, I got some good news and some bad news. Do you usually want to hear the bad news first or the good news first?
Bad news first.
Give me the bad news first.
That's just like somebody gives you a plate of 3 different, food items. I'm always going to try to get rid of what I don't like first so that my palate ends up with the flavor of the food that I do like. So I want, if someone's giving me news, it's the whole palate, and I'll wash it down with the good news so that I'm left with the good taste. How's that as an analogy?
Yeah. Yeah. I would always go with the bad news first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Ty agrees with us.
I agree.
He says the bad news first.
Okay.
So let me ask you, you said, okay, you got a plate of food. Let's say you've got a plate that's got a steak and it's got some mashed potatoes and it's got some mixed vegetables. Which one of those 3 would you eat first?
Mashed potatoes, steak, and veggies.
Yeah.
So then, well, I kind of eat a little bit in order. So I would have a little bit of steak with the mashed potato and then a little veggie. And I would continue to kind of go in that type of rotation, bounce around a little bit, but I'm not going to eat one food item and then the other food item and then the other food item. I'm going to kind of mix them up as I go along. Yeah. That's me.
So if it was steak and mashed potatoes and lima beans.
So you're saying if I were doing what I
Yeah, I'm kind of
described
going
earlier,
along with the bad news, good news thing. You
Okay,
said
so
I want the bad news
okay.
first.
So I see what you're saying. Not necessarily how I do in terms of the good news, bad news, eating the bad food first. So steak, I would eat the lima beans first. Then I would eat the steak, and I would end up with those good old mashed potatoes.
Okay. See, and Ty thinks steak, steak, steak. So that means probably forget the mashed potatoes and forget the vegetables.
Exactly. Steak, steak,
Yeah, but
steak. Okay.
given that scenario, I would probably go with the vegetables first, and then the mashed potatoes, and I would save the steak for last. The steak would that would be my good news on the plate.
The steak is your good news. You know what? For moving forward from this conversation, I'm always going to look at my plate now and look at my food as good news or bad news.
And see if there's something that you would call bad news, and you would take that first.
Well, I can tell you, every time, while everybody in my family loves salmon except for, moi, I try to like it. I really do, because I know it's so good for you, and I try to season it up and get it all great. If anybody out there has a recipe they want to share, please do, because I know it's good. So when I'm having salmon night with the family, the salmon is always the bad news on my plate.
All right. Next one I got for you. Would you rather have a job that you hate, but that pays you very, very well, or have a job that you love that pays you just enough to get by?
So, again, I have a hard time not creating my own scenarios to these questions. And if my income was to be a supplementary income, then I would clearly say the job I love with minimal pay, because that's just
okay. But if it's not supplementary, if it's your
so if it's
main,
not, if it's
and
my
I hate to say it, because it almost sounds like I'm talking about teachers. They work their butts off and get paid a minimal salary, but they seem to love their jobs. But
I think most teachers enjoy what they do. I do. But to answer your question, if it's not a supplementary income, and if I'm considering this as my livelihood, I am a pretty tolerant person, and I can usually, I have natural tendencies to be very positive and kind of make, kind of try to find the good and make good out of bad, and that whole thing, silver lining, whatever. I really do it's not difficult for me to do that. So therefore, my long answer to your question is, I think I would be able to be okay in a job that I hate. Again, that's a strong word, but and make good money, because I think I would be able to, because like I said, I'm pretty tolerant. I think I'd be able to figure it out, manage it, make the best of it. And again, if it's my livelihood and my income to survive, then I would say I would give it a try anyway.
I agree with our friend Ty, who just typed in. He says, I've had both. Show me the money.
Ty and I have been agreeing on everything, by the way.
Yeah, and I would agree the same way. I think I could tolerate a bad job, one that I didn't really care, as long as I knew that I had enough money to pay all my bills and enjoy a little bit of time away from work.
Right.
But that might be a tough decision for some people, because there are some people that really, really love what they do, and don't really make a viable lifestyle out of it.
Yeah. Okay, here's one. It's a simple one. My hair is all over the place.
Okay. Would you
rather go, talking about vacation now, would you rather go hot or cold? Beach or ski?
It's me. That's easy for me. I hate heat. I hate the heat that we're having right now. I mean, if for people that love beaches and the sun and could sit out in the sun for hours a day, that love it. But to me, I would rather put on a parka and see my breath and all than to sweat in the summertime. So I would go with the cold.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I think I'm gonna have to say beach. But it's interesting because I prefer colder weather. Um, but when I vacation, I'm looking to relax. And so therefore I'm going to pick beach because I can read and relax. And if the beach gets, to that nice kind of breezy kind of temperature in the evenings, and here I am saying, I'm contradicting my question because I'm saying the beach gets cooler in the evenings, which they oftentimes do, but let's say it doesn't, whatever. Still, I think that I would prefer, but again, now having said that, you can go to a cold place like a ski house and stay indoors, outside and read by the fire. You know what? I'm changing my answer. I want to go cold, but I like the beach. I do.
So,
I do like the beach.
so in other words, what you'd like to do is go to a beach in Antarctica.
I want, yeah, there you go. No, what I'm saying is I want a ski house, I want a beach house, I want a lake house. I want a place in Italy. That's a tough question.
I love how decisive you are. Yeah,
I am not decisive. if my family is watching this, they can tell you I am. My father makes jokes all the time that I use the phrase, let's play it by ear too much. Let's play it by ear. Let's play it by ear.
That was my mother's favorite phrase.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And by the way, for those that are watching and listening and over the years have followed our good friend Ty Foley, who is an artist in the area. He had a follow-up answer to the question about, would you rather do something that you really loved and not make much money, or have a lot of money, and get a good salary for not? And he said he's had both, and then he would go for the money. But then he followed up and he said, if I did what I loved but made very little money, I'd be an artist. And that's exactly what he
I love it. So I miss that. Yeah.
Ty's kind of throwing out that old phrase about the starving artist. So he's been there and done that.
Yeah.
But it's funny. All right. So you changed your mind.
He also said hot on the beach. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah. But you changed your mind from hot on the beach to cold, a cold scenario.
This particular question is making me flip flop. I don't know. I'm going back and forth on that because I really do enjoy going to the beach and digging my toes into the sand and getting into and listening. I love listening to the ocean, and but I also do love snowy days, and so I don't know. That's just
all right. Now
there are some people out there that like both, and I might.
Now I'm going to throw one out that I think I could probably almost guarantee I could guess which one you would rather do. Would you rather read an awesome book or watch a really good movie?
Well, I love my books, but I love my movies. I'm going to say the book. If I had to choose, I'm going to say the book. And let's just even say that it's the same story. Let's say it's, you know what I mean?
The book is the same as the movie.
The book is 9 times, always better. The only book that I can tell you, and this was ages ago when I read it, called The Help. That is one of very few books that I can say that the movie was very, very good. The book was better by just like a small percentage, just because the book gives you more detail. It gives you more of what characters are thinking and feeling, because you can't always put that in a movie or whatever. But the movie The Help was very, very, very well done. But other than that example, most of the time books. So if I had to, I do love a good movie, don't get me wrong, but if I had to choose, I'm going to pick the book. Yes, you're right. Is that what you would have guessed for me?
Yeah. I fear the book too. And I think for a lot of people that would pick a book is because the one thing that a book allows you to do is to form your own imagination about the characters and the placement and who they are and what they're doing. Once you see, which could be a follow-up question to this, if it's a matter of a really good story that you know about, would you rather see the movie first or read the book first?
Oh gosh. I mean, read the book first.
And I think you're absolutely right, because I think there's probably more people that would say I read the book and then I saw the movie and the movie was disappointing,
Yeah.
than would say it was a phenomenal movie and then I read the book and the book just, it didn't live up to the movie.
Well, and a lot of times the book, like I have watched movies before with people who have not read the book, and I'm able to fill in a lot of holes because the book just is so much more, can be just so much more thorough than what you can actually, than what these actors and can actually, portray on the in the movie on the screens or whatever. But I know most of the time. So, but also for me, reading a book is not just about reading a good story. It's the whole experience. I still read real books. I don't read on the screen. I like going in and buying a book.
You're not a Kindle person.
I'm not. I'm just not. I love the whole experience. So it's not just reading a good story. It's being by myself. It's the solitude of the experience. It's like you said, being able to kind of come up with my own, how I see these characters and whatnot. It's the whole experience. Cuddling up. It's maybe being under a blanket. It's maybe being out by the pool. It's maybe being by the fire. Whatever. It's the experience too for me. I like the whole experience of reading a book, not just the story. So that contributes to my answer.
And you see, unfortunately, I would take the opposite. And I would rather see the movie, because I have never been disciplined enough to sit down and read a good book. I get too distracted, or I get tired, I fall asleep. So it can take me a long, long time to complete a novel because I can only go so many pages at a time. And so I would probably say, well, in lieu of the book, I'll just watch the movie, and then I'll determine whether it might be even worth it later to go back to see the book. I mean, our buddy Ty would just much rather be watching a movie while sitting on the beach, eating a steak and painting a portrait.
And with all of his lottery money in his pocket.
With all of his lottery money. Absolutely.
There are a lot of people who don't like to read books. Phil will read the newspaper cover to cover, but he, unless it's and again, when he does find a book that he likes, and I bet this would be the same with you, when he does find a book that interests him, he devours it. And he sits down and pretty much gets through it pretty quickly, because when he finds a good book, because he likes to read, he likes to read news. He likes to read. So and probably Stuart, same with you. If you just haven't found a book, maybe that has kept your interest, maybe you need to just kind of.
I mean, I can read short stories. Short stories I enjoy, and in fact, I do like reading screenplays because then I can kind of visualize the characters my own way. But a novel, I have a hard time with. I mean, maybe a mystery because you don't know where it's going. Would want to keep your interest.
I'm going to give you some recommendations. I've got some good recommendations on legal mysteries and just mysteries in general. And we're going to get a good book in your hands, and you're going to love it.
Okay. We'll work on that. Well, I mean, I've had a ball. I enjoy playing, Would You Rather. And I think we'll have to revisit this again, because I think it's fun to kind of put it in context of what we would do and why. And
it certainly was nice just getting off the whole COVID conversation for a bit of time.
And we'll invite Ty back. In fact, maybe we'll just have him join the program so he can be right there and give it to us live.
He was practically on the show with us today.
Because, I know, because right now his fingers are probably hurt from typing all of his comments.
I love it. I love it.
But Ty, thank you very, very much for participating with us, and also several of Vaughn's friends that joined us too, and the rest of you that were with us. I hope you've had a good time here on Something to Talk About, and we'll run off and we'll join you again next week. Okay. So you be good. Talk
Stay
to you
safe,
soon.
stay well, stay healthy.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.